I never thought I would get emails like this. Someone sent me screenshots from a porn video. Another person sent me a photo of, in their hand. Hi guys, it's me Rose. Welcome back if you're a regular and welcome if you're new. Today, I wanted to talk about some of the weirdest, most uncomfortable, and honestly, most ridiculous things that I experienced as an ASMR YouTuber. And also some of the sweetest parts of it too, because somehow this job has both. Since ASMR is such a sensual genre, a lot of people see it in a sexual way. So I get a lot of strange requests, emails, DM, comments, and not just once in a while, a lot. At this point, someone pretending their request is not fetish content while asking for a custom video almost feels normal. That's how bad it gets. I've had people send me a whole list of gloves, very specific type of gloves, and ask me to wear each one and make a video. Before that, I didn't even know those kind of gloves existed. Foot fetish requests are also extremely common. Things like, can you lie down so your feet are visible in the frame? That happens all the time. Some people tell me my bikini photos of Instagram are pretty, and then ask me to film a video wearing that. And the funniest part is they hard so hard to sound polite, as if that makes it normal, like they're some kind of gentleman. And there are even people who don't even bother pretending. They tell me, hide the mic, look straight into the camera, make mouth sounds like you're licking with your tongue. And then they tell me to say, you can do it. Please do it for me. You're almost there. That's it. That's my boy. When I read messages like that, I feel disgusted. It's so obvious and blatant. So one time, I replied, go watch my other videos. Where do you see that kind of content? If that's what you want, go ask OnlyFans girls. And weirdly enough, that person actually apologized. So at least he has some level of awareness. But if you know enough to apologize, then why harass me in the first place? Now, if I get messages like that, I just block them immediately. And one of the most funniest moments that I ever had with this kind of person was about money. Someone told me, I'll pay you whatever you want. Just make a video wearing a bikini. Whatever I want? So I said, $10,000. And they replied, how about $500? You just said you'd pay whatever I want. So I said, I thought you said you could pay whatever I want. That's my rate. And that was it. He went silent. That part is what makes it so pathetic to me. They don't have money. They don't want to spend money. But they still treat me like someone in the sex industry they can bargain with. And some people even leave these comments publicly. So of course, my other subscribers see them and call them out. But even then, some of these people just don't get it. Their reaction is basically, what's wrong with asking? She uploads videos like this anyway. And that's when I realized some people are not only wrong, but unbelievably stupid. They're completely off, but still convinced they're right. And that combination is something else. Like, seriously. At the same time, I do understand why ASMR gets misunderstood. ASMR is quiet, slow, close, and whispered. So a lot of people see it as sensual, and I agree. But to me, there's a fine line between sensual and sexual. Sensual is about something feeling good in a sensory way, but sexual has a very different intention. And because I mainly do mouth sounds, there are a lot of close-up shots of my mouth, and sometimes my tongue is visible, naturally. So I think some people take that much further than I ever intended. I understand where that comes from. But misunderstand something and turning it into explicit sexual requests are two completely different things. That part is still on them. And then there's a completely different kind of uncomfortable questions. If people find out that I do YouTube, they almost always ask, do you make money from it? How much do you make? I've heard that hundreds of times. Sometimes from people I just met. One time someone came up to me and said, I heard you do YouTube. Does it make any good money? And her tone was just condescending. Like they already decided it wasn't a real job. And at work, because I always had a corporate job, a coworker once asked me, how much do you make from YouTube? In a team meeting in front of everyone. Really? I just said, as much as I want. And that ended the conversation. But seriously, since when is it normal to ask someone's income when you're not even close? So after years of that, I stopped telling people I'm a YouTuber. The problem is I also don't like lying. So if I say I'm a freelancer and they ask what kind, and if I say I work in content, always comes back to, oh, so you're a YouTuber. It always circles back. I also used to tell people that I make ASMR videos, but I don't do that anymore. In the early years, ASMR was so unfamiliar that I had to explain everything. What it is, what it stands for, what kind of videos I make, every single time. And now, more people, if not most, are familiar with it. So instead, they search for my channel, even though I didn't tell them the name of my channel, for a reason. And then they come back and say, oh, I watched your videos. If it's someone I know well, that's fine. But if it's someone I barely know, it feels uncomfortable because they know me, but I know nothing about them. So these days, if I mention what I do, I usually don't say I make ASMR. Also, my English name is Rose, so people find my channel very quickly, much faster than I would ever look someone up. But at the same time, there have also been very lovely moments. I was on a ferry in Switzerland with my sister, and someone came up to me and asked, "Are you Rose?" And she was my subscriber, a Swiss subscriber. That felt so unreal. We didn't have much time, but we chatted a little bit and took a photo together. It was such a sweet moment. Her name was Alma, I think. If you're somehow watching this, I hope you're doing well, Alma. And in Australia, I was at a Korean BBQ place with a friend, and one of the servers recognized me. That was the first time that someone recognized me overseas. I really didn't expect that, and in Korea too. I've been recognized on the street, on the subway, even at my friend's wedding. And every time it feels surprising and honestly really touching. But even that has a strange side. There are people who come up and talk to me, but there are probably also people who recognize me and say nothing. And sometimes I think, how many people actually recognize me when I'm just walking around? That thought can feel a little unsettling, not in a deeply negative way. I'm not walking around feeling paranoid. I live very normally, but sometimes it just crosses my mind. Because I work online, people know me, but I usually don't know them. So the idea that someone I know nothing about recognizes me in real life, it's a strange feeling. But most of the time, people just come up and say they enjoy my videos. And those moments feel really meaningful. And another thing people often don't understand is how much this job stays with you. A lot of people think being a YouTuber is easy. Like you do something fun, upload a video, and that's it. But in reality, you're constantly working. Hungry. Creating content, incorporating feedback, thinking about the next video. It never really stops. There is no clear off time. Even when you're resting, it doesn't feel like rest. Even on vacation, part of your mind is still on your channel, and your mood can get affected very easily on how things are going. I'm not saying other jobs are easy. I'm just saying this job also has its own difficulty too. There was a time that I wanted to quit almost every day, but the reason I kept going wasn't money. It wasn't the numbers. It was the comments. As someone who has struggled with insomnia, when I read comments saying my videos help them sleep, that feels different. And when someone says, I started watching you when I was in elementary school, but now I'm in college, it makes me realize we have really grown up together. And sometimes people say, if you need to rest, please rest. I'm always grateful for your hard work. Those comments can change my whole day. Long comments feel like letters from a dear friend. Even just short ones or just an emoji still feel meaningful. We've never met. We only communicated through text. But somehow sincerity still comes through. And that's what helped me get through the hardest times. So, yeah. This job is strange, sometimes uncomfortable, sometimes ridiculous, and sometimes genuinely warm. But in the end, I think the good parts are the ones that stay. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!